Hey everybody, welcome back to another video in DIY Garage TX. So check this out. First things first, you may notice back here in the back, I've added some more lights. So hopefully from here on out, the videos will be considerably brighter in the back where it was kind of like a dark closet or something. So on to the video. Okay, so for this go around, I'm not going to do anything just crazy extravagant fabrication wise, but we are going to get started in the trunk of the car. We have to mount the fuel cell, the air tank, the battery. So first things first, we're going to get started on cutting out this spare tire well and make room for the, I think it's a 15 or 20 gallon fuel cell. Yeah, so here we go. Check it out. Okay, this usually isn't the funnest part of the project, but nonetheless it has to be done. So to cut the floor out of this thing, there's any number of ways to do it. Since the garage is shut, I don't want to use the plasma cutter and smoke the place out. But what I am going to do is get a cutoff wheel, and I'm going to cut a small slot in 4 places so I can get the Sawzall in there and just go ahead and butcher that stuff out real quick and get it close, and then we'll come back later and trim it up nice and neat. So, trusty cutoff wheel in hand, time to get busy. Okay, got another quick useless tip for you. In this particular case, I wanted to draw a straight line along the back edge of the trunk on this thing, and there's really no room to lay a straight edge and draw the line like that. So what I did is I took a piece of a 2x4, drilled a hole through it, and stuck the Sharpie through it. And what I ended up with is this. So now all I do is take this thing and lay it up against the flat edge of the trunk or the flat back side of the trunk where I want to draw the line and just follow it through like that. Leaves a perfect straight line every time. Now, typically when you drill a hole, it's going to be a little bit too big for a Sharpie, so this particular one, as you can see, is wrapped in tape. So I'm going to continue on drawing my straight line with my fancy new tool. Alright, straight line is now complete. Time to cut it. Okay, I got the trunk cut out. That's always a little bit of a struggle. There's a lot of underlying structure that you have to get in there and cut out. So now we're going to, this is going to involve a bunch of different things. The back bars for the cage have to come down to the crossbar for the coilovers. The little bitty framework has to go in there to mount the fuel cell and the air tank too and stuff like that. So we'll probably cover part of that in the video, and then the remainder of it is probably going to be in a different video. But anyways, I'll grab the camera and show you what it looks like now that the spare tire well is cut out of it. Alright, check it out. Bunch of room in there now. You can see this piece that we cut out is laying on the floor. So the framework is going to go, the framework will go somewhere this way, straight forward, straight back. The shock bar is going to go somewhere right in here. And then the down bars will come from up here and connect somewhere around there. Okay, now that we made some progress in the back of the car, I'm kind of at a standstill back there because I need some of the rear end pieces to get the new housing assembled and various other things. So we're going to kind of skip around a little bit. And some of the earlier subscribers may remember the turbo kit that I had on the race car. This is the same engine and everything out of that car. But I made the turbo kit then with the turbo sitting in front of the car. Now, I was thinking ahead when I built the headers and made them in a manner where I could modify them exactly like what I'm getting ready to show you. So I'll grab the camera, we'll move it up a little bit, and I'll kind of point out what's going to happen, and it'll make a little more sense. Okay, this worked out a little weird, but this header, as you can see right here, is slanted down towards the bottom of the radiator. We're going to cut it back here as far as we can in the straight section and put the collector straight on it. The other header is real similar, and we're going to cut it in a very similar fashion. Reason being is the turbo is going to mount to this lip right here. The downpipe goes down by the water pump and splits into two pipes and goes out by the transmission bell housing. Now, with this collector moved up like this, this part of the crossover pipe will have a big dip in it right underneath the frame rail. What that does is it gives us room to put the downpipe under here and out the back on both sides. So probably kind of hard to envision that without seeing it. So we're going to go ahead and start on part of it right now. And the turbo kit, it'll come up here in a few videos sooner or later. But in order to keep the project moving, I'm going to work on what I have right now. Okay, so maybe it'll make a little more sense now that the headers are out on the table. You can see the part that angles down, the oil filter sits right under here. I plan on cutting these right where the headers turn to go, or right where the primaries turn to go straight. Right around here, both sides, collectors point down at an angle, problem solved. So, as much as I hate to, let's chop saw a really nice set of stainless steel headers. Sounds like a good plan. Just for the record, that kind of hurts to cut up a nice set of headers. I'm not gonna lie. Okay, these headers up inside, you can see a little bit there, they have a fire cone in them. And we're gonna try to salvage that as best we can. So next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna cut this collector again right across the weld, a little bit behind it maybe, in hopes of saving that piece and not cutting into it, I guess is what I'm getting at. So that is really sketchy. Kind of scary, actually. Looks like we didn't cut into the collector too bad. Maybe just a little bit of touch-up work with a grinder and we'll be able to get that thing out of there. Alright, a little tiny bit of a weld left on the collector where we chop sawed it. We're going to grind through that weld and then the 4 rings should just essentially fall out. At least that's the plan. Okay, both pieces cut out. That's what we're after. Now, time to get everything cleaned up and get it put back in. Okay, so we got everything cut up, cleaned up, and ready to go back together. We have the fire cones off the collectors. They're all dressed up and ready to put back in place. Both collectors cleaned up, ready to go. Both headers cut. So first thing we do is weld that in place like that. Put the collector over it like so. Then we will have turned our long tube turbo headers into short tube turbo headers. For the OG subscribers, you'll think back and remember on the race car, these headers were for a front mount turbo that pointed out the front of the car. The way I'm going to do this setup is the turbo is going to sit across the front of the car more or less. Downpipe will split and go back by the bell housing and have a more street friendly appeal to it. We'll see. Anyways, let's get started putting that back together. So like any header, when you cut them apart, the primaries spring a little bit, not the end of the world. I just put an old hose clamp around the collector, kind of like that. Give it a little bit of squeeze, get it lined up a little better. These particular ones were not very far off, so it's not, they don't have to move like inches or anything. So these things, even though they're made out of really similar pieces, they're not exactly symmetrical. So I'm just going to clock it in a manner where they fit best and roll with it. So we'll go ahead, tack these in place, and go on to the next part. Okay, so we got one of the cones welded in place. Grab the camera real quick, show you what it looks like. Alright, pretty simple deal right there. Fire cone is welded in place. Nothing spectacular going on there. Couple little love taps with a mallet. That's all she wrote. Put it on the car, check it out, see how it fits. Alright guys, there's the finished product. Kind of long tube header turned into a short tube header. I'll grab the camera, take it over to the other side so you can get a better view of the reason why we did it like this. Okay, now you can see the collector points down, and what it's going to do is going to allow that exhaust to loop up and into the bottom of the turbine, and there'll be plenty of room right up in here for the split part of the downpipe to go under the frame and back towards the bell housing. Okay, as you saw, we got the trunk floor cut out in preparation for getting the crossbar put in between the frame rails to mount the rear cage bars to, which is also going to support the fuel tank, the fuel pumps, the air tank, and a few other things. Also, got the headers cut, shortened up, collectors welded back on. I only showed you one of those because the other one's exactly the same way. We don't want to look at that thing twice. That is going to facilitate the sideways mounting of the turbo as opposed to the turbo sticking out the front of the car. Having said all that, that is the end of the video. As usual, I appreciate everybody stopping by. Give it a thumbs up, subscribe, share, and comment. Tell me what you think about the project and all that good stuff. We'll see you in the next one, guys. Thanks.